right, Jack, am I good here with my Safari tab open with remote programming up?
You are all good.
Awesome. Okay. Well, like I said, in the interest of time, I will just kind of get this rolling. As Jackie mentioned, we're just going to try to give you guys a little bit more information around the programs that might work best in this new kind of remote world that we're all living in, especially in regards to physical education. I'm going to kind of breeze over the who am I, if you're interested, teacher, coach, all of those things in the last decade or so. And nowadays I run most of the programming and exercise related content that we do here and with all of our different coaches here at Platform. So the one thing I want to start with before we even dive in, because I think it's super relevant and everybody should hear it from somebody else, is I totally get, how crazy this feels right now. One of my best friends is, a PE director at a local high school. And even he, a veteran of, 20 something years, was benefited from just hearing like, take a breath. I know it's crazy. Everybody's expecting a lot of every one of you, but understand that nobody's expectation is that everything will be perfect from day one. And as you go into this new year with remote learning, I just urge you to take a breath and really bite off small chunks. What I mean by that is kind of think about things on a planning perspective, not from a detail first, but from a high level first. It really benefits in a lot of walks of life, but here is extremely relevant when it comes to deciding what you're going to do, what programs you're going to use, how you're going to get them to kids. I would really think about it from a kind of a bird's eye view and in little chunks. So, okay, we have freshman classes, or I have sophomore wellness, or I have one unit of fitness in 8th grade, and it's this audience, and it's this many weeks, it's this many intended lessons. Give yourself just kind of an outline of one small chunk that you want to just, start preparing for. Because that allows you to really identify, okay, who are these kids? What experience level are they? And I'm not talking about what age they are, but what experience do they have with fitness, with training, with any of this? And then, what is my actual logistic circumstance? Are we going to be meeting once a day? Is this, going to be something that they're doing on their own? Do I have communication with them directly every single day via Zoom? All of those things are good to just have an idea of before you even think about programs, because that's really going to dictate what works best for you. And then once you do, as we'll talk about, there are a number of different things that you can use from a platform standpoint that we've tried hard to create for you that become useful no matter what situation you're in. So once you have the idea of who you're going to be working with and how frequently, you can start looking at, okay, well, maybe this group would be benefited by this program. And you can start thinking like, this is going to be mapped out over the course of a month or a month and a half. And again, very high level, and it doesn't have to always, end up the way you start it. And then you can start thinking about, okay, what does the first day look like? How am I delivering it? Are we doing this via Zoom? Am I delivering it via an LMS or platform itself? What's easiest for you? And then I think the biggest thing I can say is with what we're doing right now with remote learning, remote teaching, is be willing to adapt. Try it for a day, try it for a week. And I'd be honest with your kids, right? Hey guys, this is how we're going to try things today. We're going to see how it works. They're just as kind of up in the air and trying to keep their head above water as we are. So be honest and open with them and say, hey, we're going to, adapt things as it goes. Let me know what works, what doesn't, what do you enjoy? What do you not enjoy? Because I think if we just kind of continually improve and evolve, we'll find something that works for everybody. So not to, get up on a soapbox, but I think everybody benefits from just taking a deep breath. And I want you to know that, you're on a call with, 100 other people that all are in the same shoes. Nobody's going to have the best answer on day one. So just understand that. And don't put too much pressure on yourself to have the absolute perfect execution on the first ever class session, etc. Okay. So what we want to talk about, and this has happened last time, it takes a little while for my screen to recognize that I pressed next. Oh, now we jumped ahead a bunch. Okay. So we're going to talk about in a little bit of depth today what I would argue is the kind of the most useful programs from a platform perspective that you might want to employ in this new remote environment. You could find a use for almost any program we have, but these are probably the most conducive. That being our Fit 101, which is truly an introduction to fitness and movement. Fit 102, which is basically a step up from that, where we're adding some external loading, learning what it means to train rather than just move and get a little sweaty and understand what work capacity is about. We also have some kind of accessory pieces. Those are more curriculum based. And then you have nutrition, which can be more of a cognitive curriculum item, something that you either do ad hoc or schedule that over time. Mastering mobility is awesome because it's an activity, but it's also a little bit low intensity, low stakes, and can be done in a whole lot of different ways, different assignment options, et cetera. And then for your more experienced students, or if you start on day one at Fit 101, 6 months from now, you might be moving into things like Fitness Anywhere, which is really the at-home equivalent to fitness-based, activity-based PE class. And we also have a remote athletic development, which is kind of just the juxtaposition of that exact same type of activity, but for kids that are either required because they're in athletic PE or because they're looking to improve themselves for an upcoming season. Hopefully we have some of those in our near future, but those are options as well. And I'm going to go into depth on each of these. We'll actually go into platform to talk about them. Before I do that, I think what a lot of people ask off the bat is really, what are the ways in which I can and should be thinking about actually executing these programs, this content from a class perspective? Again, I don't know why it drives so far ahead every time, but I'm just going to kind of give you some high level ideas. I think I'd first also say there's no wrong way to do it. Try something, see if it works. If it doesn't, try something else the next day. We've done this internally at the office. We've done this with our football team that I still coach. We've tried a lot of different things and found what works and what doesn't work for us. One way that I think is quite useful, especially if you are tied to, hour-long, 80-minute, 90-minute Zoom sessions per day, per week, or whatever with your kids, is you can consider it very instructor-led. And there's a lot of different ways that you could do that. First, you as the teacher, we provide a lot of content that you could use as, call it, the teacher guide. Maybe the students don't even see the follow along video or the pieced out version on their app. Maybe you've decided, hey, for a couple of weeks, I'm going to use the lesson plans and the full instructional videos to set myself up, and then I'm going to run class so that I have complete control over everything from day one. I want to keep everything in-house so that we get a few weeks under our belt without introducing any external kind of logistics items. We run workouts sometimes over the summer with our football group where I would literally coach them through, and I'd say, hey, here's what we're doing. We'll demo the movement, we'll talk about it, and then I'll say, okay, now I need you to go do that. And I'll watch them via the screen shares. You could also use platform as kind of a in between, where he says, hey, we're going to go through this class today, and you're going to share your screen with either the workout preview or the full lesson follow along, and you're just going to basically present that. You can think of it as equivalent to having a projector in your gym or your classroom, wherever you would normally be operating, and you're just press play, listen, hear the coaching cues, the reasons behind what we're doing, the prescription of what our activity is going to be following. And you say, okay, we're pausing this. You all watch the coach from platform talk about this. I want you to go do it. And I'm going to keep an eye on you for all of the points of performance or actual completion of the assigned task. So there are a lot of different ways in which you can do this. We also provide fully guided videos that kids could actually just follow along on their own if they were operating independently. Again, I just mentioned a whole lot of different options. The idea here is not to think, oh, I'm definitely picking one and this is the best one. It's to know that there are a lot of creative ways to go about this and there is no real wrong way. Speaking of, again, now I pressed it too late, so it's going to take a minute or two. We'll also, talk about the kind of student-driven option. As you know, Platform is a tech product, and athletes have access to the Platform app, which you can assign any of our content and programs so that they are actually using it on their phone, their Chromebook, their desktop, their whatever, and it will take them step by step with our coaches on their own time. And This is something that you can absolutely do. This is great, especially for after getting a couple lessons under your belt and you know what kids know what is expected of them. And then you can start tracking completion and progress. Maybe you're not meeting with them every day on Zoom in 4 weeks. Maybe they're assigned 4 things a week and you say, hey, I want you to complete lessons, 11, 12, and 13 this week on your own. And I'll be, just making sure that you get that done via the analytics and everything else. Again, no wrong way to do that. You could even blend the two together, as I'll mention next. Again, apologize for the delay here. The screen's a little funky, but you could also say, hey, we're going to meet together for 15 minutes every day. I'm going to talk about what we're doing today. I might, demo the movements myself. And then I'm saying, hey, there's access to your Fitness Anywhere program on your app. Now you all have, the day to get it done, or maybe it's the next 30 minutes or whatever. You could also say, hey, we're doing fitness lessons together and I'm going to assign you mobility sessions and nutrition articles and videos for completion outside of our official class time. Again, it all depends. Every school's a little different. Some might say that we meet every day. Some might say that you're required to have homework. Some others might not. So
yes,
that's,
Tim, I'm going to chime in there.
Please.
Because I've spoken with a lot of teachers who have kind of used a blend. So I'm hearing a lot of people returning to school with a hybrid model. And yes, so the nice thing about our programs is you could potentially assign a program and it is totally appropriate to do some of those lessons instructor led on those days that you have them in front of you virtually. And it's also appropriate for them to, do the next lesson on their own or asynchronously. So that's the nice thing is you can still provide that continuity through a program and that seamless, progression through our program, even when you're kind of jumping back and forth with having them in front of you and in front of a computer screen.
Absolutely. And a great point. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but understanding that, we're all continuing to evolve. I mean, even in-house, we're changing the way we deliver programs, create programs, use the tech to best serve you guys. Obviously, we're working at the same pace and under the same, guidelines that you all are now, and try to get ahead of it as much as we can. But understand you can try a lot of different things, and there are a lot of good options that we've seen be successful. So I think what I'd like to do next is really dive into those programs to talk about, how they're built, what they're meant for, who they're meant for. And I would also just, before I do that, please make this as much of a question and answer period as you want. Obviously, if you have specific questions about specific programs, that's what I'm also here for. I'll kind of just get going and talk at high level. I'll go against my nature and try to be, I'll operate with a little bit of brevity, but please cut me off and submit questions, and Jackie will interrupt me and we'll get those answered as you guys see fit. So for this, I'm actually going to hop into platform. If you're familiar, this is the programs page, which is located under training currently. And this is really just going to show all of the programs that we offer. It will also show if you've ever created your own programs. We won't go into that today, but understand if you ever want to see just ours, come up here into type. And we offer the ability to sort by platform only programs, custom programs, which are your own, or all together. Sometimes it can get a little jumbled if you have created a bunch, copied a bunch, etc. So I just wanted to let you know that you can clean that up and always come back here. And then the nice thing also to remember, I'm going to talk about these, but we provide quite a bit of extra detail that I will go into right here in the programs page itself. Firstly, in this more detailed section, we'll talk about Intro to Fitness first. Understand though, you could always come in. There's a little commercial of sorts to explain what Fit 101 is like, has a breakdown and some basic information for you if you forget or just want to review. The next best thing to do is go ahead and click preview. And what that'll do is actually bring up the program itself, much in the way that kids might see it on their own laptop or desktop. You'll notice Fit 101 is absolutely our introduction to fitness. We're basically tackling the foundational human movements, the squat, the press, the pull, the hinge, the lunge, as well as, the running, walking, carry type of monostructural movement that is, often considered one of the foundational movements as well. Each program is often preceded by just a simple introduction. And then what I would also highlight is that in our 101 and 102 and Fitness Anywhere programs, it also comes with a temporary, but very much there, set of at-home kind of announcements, modifications, just help videos. Because, you know, our programs are obviously, you know, originally built for, you know, when we're all in class together, and maybe we're stuck in living rooms now. We have made sure that those can be completely done by anyone, anywhere. But we give you all of the different things that might help. So, you know, creative cardio. How do you get things like cardio done when you're stuck in a living room? How do you scale push-ups? One of our biggest, you know, points of emphasis in our learning curve of, you know, proper pressing. How do you modify that at home? We're actually just going to be using a couch. You have multiple different levels of elevation there, and it's an excellent way to accomplish the same thing we might with boxes, benches, and other tools within the weight room. Pulling's a big part of our programs, right? Because obviously pulling is a foundational human movement. It's important for injury prevention and everything else. Really hard to do if you don't have TRXs and pull-up bars at home, but not impossible. So we give you options to either give to the kids, to choose for yourself, to deliver however you wish. We talk it all through. You can get pulling done with milk jugs and backpacks and all these other things at home. So there are definitely options. So again, we start all these programs when appropriate with, you know, kind of help content in this current situation most of us find ourselves. If you're in class, don't worry about it. You can kind of skip right through that, or you can watch it just so the kids know what they can do when they're at home. So to actually talk about the program itself, Fit 101 is 5 sections and 15 total lessons. What a lesson looks like is a completely guided but broken up lesson from start to finish with one of our coaches. This is my ugly mug on the first lesson. Don't worry, it's not me every day. We have 4 coaches that coach us through all of our programming. And what we'll do is actually intro every lesson together, talk about what we're going to do, what the point is. We'll warm up together piece by piece, especially early in the programs when we're really learning and kids haven't seen any of this yet. We'll go in through things like, you know, posterior chain development and core development and learning the purpose of all of these things. We're not just saying, hey, let's go get sweaty today. We're actually going to try to teach fitness so that we have the tools to be a fit and healthy individual on our own, should we choose to, after we finish these programs. We'll teach the foundational human movements, and we're big on points of performance. So we'll nail all of those down, right? We'll talk about the squat, the why. Why do we care about our feet? Why do we want the tripod foot of the big toe, the little toe, and the heel? Why does it matter that we don't come up on our toes? We talk about the relationship between our knees and our ankles. We got to make sure we have good external hip rotation so that we're not experiencing that valgus knee collapse that, you know, kind of precedes potential injury, you know, down the road, either on the field or later in life. Good spine position, neutral spine. And then lastly, you know, how deep are we going? We want to make sure range of motion is important. It's what keeps you healthy and, you know, out of the infirmary long down the line. And then each day, each lesson has something we call a finisher. In our more advanced, you know, athletic programs, weightlifting, everything else, these are more competitive and kind of intense. These are very much introductory finishers where we are just prescribing a set amount of work that athletes or students are meant to complete, either together as a group when you're in session together, or maybe via Zoom when you're all together on a call, or on their own. And then on their own app, they'll actually log, if you've assigned this digitally, what they did, right? So if it says, hey, I want you to do 5 rounds of 10 perfect air squats and 2 minutes of a walk, jog, or run, however it is that fits your pacing and your ability right now best. And then we'll actually log what is the total time it took you to finish this. It serves a number of purposes. One, anytime you log something, you have a little bit greater sense of accomplishment. We're not competing against one another now. We're not sacrificing form for speed, but we feel like we did something and we can say that we did it. And then the teacher knows that we did it. It's also a way of evaluating, did one student say it took them 1 minute and the others are all 12 minutes? Which one might have been a little BS if you weren't there watching them. And then we'll wrap things up again as a group, and we'll move on to the next day. And this program will progress from very, very low impact, low intensity, pure body weight education up into developing some basic capacity. We'll start to learn what it means to sweat. We'll start to learn what it means to sweat while maintaining a priority of movement and health. We care more about how we move and what we learn than how sweaty we get in any individual program. This is an excellent program for anybody. A lot of people hear inexperienced and automatically assume that means young kids. Frankly, if I worked with a general population group of 30 or 40-year-olds right now, majority of them I'm putting on this as well. This is something that everybody should build a foundation with so that they are kind of set up for success in whatever they choose to do fitness-wise moving forward. So this is an excellent program, whether you're 7th grade students, whether you're 12th grade students. If you haven't had a great foundational education on movement, this is a great place to start. And understand, if you're somebody that says, well, I don't want to do this with a 12th grader, they don't know how to squat properly, but they're not going to say this is too easy. These finishers are entirely dependent on the individual. I could make this for myself a highly intense workout. That's not its point, but it certainly could be used that way if you want to kind of scale it to whatever group to increase motivation or keep them bought in or anything along those lines. So that's our Fit 101 program, and I think Jackie's going to cut me off here.
I'm going to cut you off. So I just want to speak to the logistics once more while we're in here. So if you scroll down to like the squat, this is really the meat of this session. We want them to get the proper squat out of this. Yeah, so I just wanted to point out how some folks might use this in an instructor-led setting. You might watch the video together as a class and then use those coaching points below as like your talking points. So you watch the video together. You might then reconvene in your Zoom session and call on kids, asking them to name the 4 points of performance because we covered them in the video. So just sharing some ideas of how you might use like the video and text in an instructor-led setting. Those coaching points are really good talking points. And then I have some questions that I want to get to. So Cindy asked how long this lesson might take. So we do have a program guide that I will be happy to share in a follow-up email to everyone that registered. And in that program guide, we've outlined the average duration for each program. I can tell you this one, I believe, is 30 to 45 minutes, we like to say. And then Sam, were you going to go somewhere else with that too?
Yeah, I was going to answer that. I apologize. My computer tends to cut out internet. So if I go silent, Jackie, please text me and let me know that I'm no longer talking to everybody. I think I'm back. It just happens every once in a while here. Yeah, the question on length is a good one. And everybody, is, okay, will this work for my, 30-minute class, my hour class, my 90-minute class? And again, my internet just is not working super well. Hopefully you guys can hear me. This is very much meant to be, 30 to 40 minutes, but it's entirely dependent on how you execute it. If a kid's following along and all he does is watch the video and then perform the movement, and he doesn't waste any time, he might be done in 30, 35 minutes. If you are going to spend time, breaking it down, maybe you guys watch the air squat video together, which is a good 4.5 minutes because it's the very first time we've ever talked about the air squat. Then you actually discuss maybe as a teacher and group of students, and then you go do whatever is prescribed, and then maybe you regroup and talk about it some more. That could very well be an hour. It could be an hour plus. It depends on how you want it to be. I think many of you've probably started a lesson plan that might say you intended it to be 30 minutes, but the way you executed it turned it into an hour. These have very much the same flexibility. So you can kind of guide the actual length of the lesson as much as you need to. You couldn't do it any shorter probably though than about 30 minutes, if that makes sense.
Yep. Awesome. And then
what I will mention, and I apologize not going right to 102, but because 101 is a prime example of it, I will mention that what we also have is full lessons in the exercise vault. So if you're into that same training tab, you can go to exercises. This program is also not only broken up and available to deliver through the app. We've created a complete follow along video that has our coach walking through the entire lesson together with points where it tells you to pause and perform a certain prescription of warm up, of work, of exercise, of finisher, or whatever, you could take these and deliver them through an LMS. If you're like, look, I've got so many tech things going on. We went out of our way. We understand that. We went out of our way and actually created something that you could use outside of platform. It's not necessarily our best approach because it kind of gives you the keys to the kingdom, but we understand that everybody's got a lot going on. So we kind of said, all right, screw it. If we can get you the content that you need in an easier fashion, great. If you want to deliver these through LMS, you can absolutely do that. We made those private links available for you. We even took it a step further, and this Google Doc has been shared, and we'll share again, is a complete compilation of all those private links, along with all of the at-home modification content, should you need it. And this is very much for those people that say, look, I got a lot going on. I want to start the year with a little less on my plate. I'm going to be using Google Classroom or whatever. Can I deliver things a little bit less tech-wise? I just want to kind of get my feet wet. This is a great option for all of you. So if you have questions about that, Jackie and I are happy to answer those as well. But I just wanted to plug that. Those exist in a lot of places. We've tried to make them very accessible to you, and we're always available to let you know where to go for those.
Awesome. Yeah, I will send those in a recap email. One more question was about, can they add text and log like a note about their workout, like reflecting on the workout? The answer to that is technically no. We don't have a way of collecting open responses. However, and this is Deb that asked the question, I do want to point out that we do have written assessments that go hand in hand with the 101 and 102 programs. So Sam, I don't know if you were going to get there, but worth mentioning where those live.
Yes.
So if you click manage, actually there's a couple of places they live, but if you click manage, it'll take you to the general info tab of that particular program, which is where you can access the full program guide for that particular program. Yeah, so if Sam were to click that, the full program guide would open up for him. And at the end of that program guide are some written assessments, or you can call them reflection questions. But the idea is that the students would be able to answer these questions after completion of the program.
It's opening in a separate
and
tab.
Don't worry about your internet, Sam.
Can you see that? It's opening in a PDF viewer, so it's not showing in my, browser.
In the browser. Got it. Okay. I will send a link to it in the chat. And then Deb asked a follow-up question: how do they turn in the written assessments? So again, we don't have a way of collecting open responses in platform. It's just not what we were built for. So just like what Sam has touched upon, we've created everything in the form of a Google Doc so that you can easily just copy and paste it. So I will send in my follow-up email to all registrants those resources where you can get the written assessments, PDF version and Google Doc version.
Great questions, and worth noting that, like, with the world evolving to all this kind of remote learning, remote delivery, everything, we're playing catch up too. And we'll anything that you guys find to be something that could be super useful in the future, let us know. If those are things that are kind of just like, oh, that would help a ton, let us know. We already have a nice, kind of roadmap of things we'll do to make this situation and beyond even more efficient.
Awesome.
Should I get into 102?
Yeah, let's go into 102.
Awesome. So I won't spend a ton of time here because this one's a little bit easier to explain because we've already talked about how everything kind of works and flows. In this particular program, basically what we're doing is taking those foundational movements and extending it to resistance training, very light external loaded objects that put intensity on top of our well-cemented human movement patterns. So for example, if we've learned and mastered, or not mastered, but we've moved on in our journey from the air squat, we're going to add a light load in the front to something called a goblet squat. In our programs, they are traditionally a medicine ball squat, again, a very light loaded object held in that goblet position. And we are going to just expound upon all of the things we've learned from a movement and technique perspective and add that element of external loading. And again, obviously you say, well, coach, there are no medicine balls for kids at home. At the beginning of this program, just like we did in Fit 101, we prescribe all of the different, modifications that you might need, which include, all right, if you're at home, I know you have a backpack. I know you have a backpack and some books. We can load up a backpack very easily and provide ourselves with a loaded object that works much like a kettlebell or dumbbell might if you had it at home. If kids have those things like medicine balls and kettlebells and everything else, that's great too. But understand that we can always perform the movements, the prescribed work with, at-home objects. Again, I don't know what's going on in my videos, but you guys get the gist. So this is going to be 16 sessions for a week, or block, I should say, section that you can perform once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever you see fit, whatever fits your schedule best. It all works the exact same way. We're going to have a coach go through each and every day, piece by piece. You can watch it together. You can use it as your teacher guide, or you can assign it via the app and let kids follow along on their own. We'll talk about each and every piece as we go through it. And again, we'll still have our finishers that get a little bit more, call it involved, as we've built our capacity over the previous 15 sessions. And then we have another 16 to continue to develop our aerobic capacity, a bit of our strength, endurance, core stability, and everything else. So Fit 102 is a really nice natural progression from Fit 101. And again, it's about building a foundation for all future fitness and training.
Yeah, so this one's sort of flirting on the edge of being a remote option. It is the ideal progression for your intro or inexperienced kids to come after 101. And just as Sam hinted to, that introduction where we review like how to get creative and use like a broomstick for a barbell at home. If your kids are willing to get creative and kind of mimic the idea of introducing the concept of load without a medicine ball, then this program can absolutely be used.
Yeah, and I wouldn't shy away from it. I think you'll find that kids are pretty resourceful, especially if you give them some ideas, and don't discount what it means to keep kids engaged by making it a little unique and creative. I find that, when we did, stuff over the summer, the moment you add some funky instruments, kids are a little bit more excited. If they have to think about it, it just becomes less of a, rote every day after day, same thing. So it's a definitely good option. Certainly don't have to do 102 right after 101. We have other options, but I wanted to, hit on it because it is a really nice natural progression, especially if you're somebody that's saying, look, I need to come up with 100 sessions between now and February, now at the end of the year, now we're in Christmas. Certainly don't skip over these thinking that they can't be done. Then I'll kind of jump ahead. I think from a PE standpoint, really the marriage of Fit 101 and Fit 102 is our Fitness Anywhere program. Fitness Anywhere is expected to be performed by students that do have that basic education. We're going to really teach and talk about every movement still, much like we did in 101 and 102. But the idea is that they already have some of that experience under their belts, so that we can go at a little bit higher clip in the sense of do it a little bit more in each and every day, because we have to talk about each thing less. This is 10 blocks, all right, of 3 workouts and 1 fitness challenge. Again, you can kind of perform these at any speed you choose. I would say that, 3 days of workouts a week and a fitness challenge is a really great way to do it. That's why we have these blocks built that way, but certainly could do 1 or 2 of them a week and just kind of, follow along that way as well. It's built in very much the same way. We will intro the day. We'll go through the warm up together. We'll coach every little item. We'll talk about how we can scale air squats while at the house using targets. We'll very much explain it. We're at home in a living room. This is how we might perform these movements if we were you. And we'll have finishers, again, that can be logged. Again, these are a little bit more of the kind of volume and intensity that might be better for somebody that does have some foundational, work done. But it's always scalable. It's always something that kids can do, no matter their background, so long as they pay attention to the notes. This is what we're looking for. This is what we care about, what we don't care about, right? So we even say adjust your reps accordingly. don't have to be thinking of this as concrete prescription that can't be touched, but it is a great way to kind of set everything up for a great workout at home. This could be done together as a group, as a class, could be individual. You could track it on the app, whatever you want. We will basically progress for the first 5 weeks. Excuse me, I keep saying weeks, 5 blocks of 15 workouts, all body weight. At that point, we will start introducing those external loaded objects like the backpack, like milk jugs, etc., so that if possible, we start to add the intensity, the interest, the creativity, the fun, as well as actually progress our ability over the course of 30 full sessions. So 30 full sessions is quite a bit, should get you a long way. If you are putting that into a curriculum planning, especially if you do the previous 31, you have 60 plus sessions right there for you if you start at the beginning and go all the way through. Any question about Fitness Anywhere? This is a program that's probably got more of like the specific question and answer, or things that you're looking for. Please stop me, post in the chat or the question and answer. I'm happy to address any of the particulars as it pertains to Fitness Anywhere. Good, Jack?
Yeah, we had one question, more of a suggestion, asking for a shorter time span. So I'm sure that fluctuates depending on your schedule and situation, but worth mentioning that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the remote options we've put together tend to be shorter, such as this one?
Correct. Yeah, even Fitness Anywhere, we're looking at 30, 35 minutes. Actually, Doug and I here in the office did the first 15 together, and it never took us more than 35 minutes.
Yep.
So it's not super long. And again, I would say, I understand, trust me, I've been there at classes at one point that were like 28 minutes long because of X, Y, or Z. What I would say to that is, you can either say, okay, if every day is super short, maybe we figure out a way to say, we're going to do this much together and I'm going to assign the rest of it on your own. Or if it's once in a while that days are super short, you say on days that were long, we do these full lessons together. On days that were short, I assign you one of the mobility sessions, which we'll get to, or a nutrition thing we'll talk through together or watch together. Don't feel like you can't put programs and content together to best serve your logistic situation. Trust me, I know block scheduling and rotating schedules and differing times, too much, too little. Some people have 90 minutes and it's like, well, I'm not going to grind my kids to dust for 90 minutes once a week. We can find creative ways to make it work. So I would, urge everybody to, feel like you can pick and choose, add things together, assign things outside of class, or whatever works best for you.
Yeah. And to spin off of that, someone asked a follow-up question about like how long it takes to get through the program. So as Sam has pointed out, on the left-hand side is where you can toggle through our weeks and days. In some of the intro programs, we refer to them as sections and lessons. So these are just like the proposed schedules that we've sort of outlined, but these programs can be condensed or stretched over a shorter or broader timeline. So this is sort of getting into the logistics of how to assign through platform, which we can cover on another webinar, or we have several tutorials on that, but you don't have to schedule it as we've put together. So like if you wanted to get through more of these Fitness Anywhere workouts per week, you absolutely could. It's just a matter of how you assign them to your kids.
Yeah, and what I would say to that is I think the best way, the most kind of like eye-opening, enlightening way of just how flexible you can be is to think of these programs as just digital textbooks. We have 10 sections, blocks with 3 different lessons, and you can just turn these programs on and kids can see all of those lessons, much like handing them a textbook at the beginning of the year and saying, hey, we're doing 3, the first 3 this week. Next week, we're only doing the next, lessons 4 and 5. Week after that, we're going to do 4. And you can just tell them like, this is where we're at and this is what we're going to do. And you don't have to feel like, hey, I have to do this many this week because that's what it shows. You don't feel like you could do 1 a week. That's totally fine. And it could take you, 30 weeks. It's entirely up to you and your schedule. There's no wrong way to do it. You could do 5 lessons, 5 workouts a week. Just is what are your kids able to do volume wise? How much time do you have? How quickly do you want to get through the unit and everything else? So that's a great question.
So think of so the word terms week and day over there might throw people off. Think of those as like proposed ways to structure this program, but really this program is 30 total workouts.
Yes.
There is a method of assigning a program with what we call group access. And again, these are things we cover on like the setup and onboarding webinars. And I'm happy to send tutorials if anyone is stuck. But if you were to give your students group access to this program, they could move through it at their own pace, which may not necessarily be 3 workouts per week. So hopefully that answered that question.
Mm-hmm.
So shall we move on to?
Sure. So I will talk only very briefly, but if you do have athletic PE or athletes that want to do, they're like chomping at the bit, like, coach, teach, I really want to train for X season that I believe is coming. And I don't, being fit's great, but I want to train power and conditioning and everything else. We have remote athletic development, which is entirely, driven towards the goal of performing your athletic performance, progressing your athletic performance, improving your athletic performance. We very much rely on students being creative. We will assign workouts and exercises that are intended to have external resistance. And we explain to them very, very effusively throughout the program, hey, if you don't have a dumbbell, go get a rock outside for your goblet squats. Fill a Home Depot buck full of hockey pucks. Those things are what athletes have been doing all summer using this program. And it does actually work pretty well, to be honest with you. You'd be surprised that their willingness and their ability to get creative. So we do have this, and this is intentionally built as 15 specific weeks because you're a little bit more regimented from that kind of performance training side of things, and kids are a little bit more like, I want to do this 5 days a week. So we have that there. I'm not going to touch on it a lot unless people have specific questions, because I know it's not necessarily kind of the wheelhouse right now for the fall. But know that you have that available, and you can certainly ask more questions about that or dive in at a later date if it becomes something that's important to you all. I think what's very worth mentioning is our Mastering Mobility program, which is a number of sessions of a guided, think like somewhat yoga-esque 20-minute session that is guided by a kind of ethereal voice overlaid with our very talented mobility experts in-house, Jackie and Coach Alex, that you can play, you can assign, or you can watch together and perform. And this is a great way. We had a coach ask, hey, we have 90-minute sessions, and that's more than we've ever had before. What do we do? And I said, well, if you're going to do one-on-one, let's do that. Do it really, really, in-depth and casual, and make sure you get it right. Spend 45 minutes or even an hour on that, and then do a mobility session together, and then you can talk and wrap it out afterwards. And you're going to be approaching that 90-minute mark. It's something that's low impact. It's not going to take away from kids' ability. It might actually enhance recovery. It's not going to place an extra demand on them. You can use this very much buffet-like. Hey, we're going to go ahead and do session 7, session 10, or whatever. These are just kind of ad hoc mobility follow along videos that you can use really at your discretion. And that's a nice little kind of piece that you can put into the puzzle as you see fit.
Yep, and the nice thing about them, each of them is 20 minutes long and 1 video. So they are hitting play and following along with us while we hold these guided stretching positions. Can tell you from having sat through all of them, you always feel good after. So it's just a wonderful complement to any other program. I like the analogy you just used, like puzzle pieces. Just want to encourage everyone to think of Platform as just a great resource. Pull and choose from it as you see fit and as best meets your needs or your schedule.
Yes. And honestly, this mobility program, recommend for anybody. You should be doing it more frequently than I am, frankly. I think some of you might actually enjoy it even more than your students. It's something that I think a lot of people would benefit from. on a regular basis. Okay, I will just keep kind of trucking unless there's questions. The next thing I'll mention is our nutrition program. This is something that we kind of have really ramped up, trying to provide extra stuff for you all in this new environment. We have a complete nutrition curriculum that is very much from the ground up. What are calories? What are your macros? What does that mean? How does your body see food? And we've built it in a couple different ways. First, we have a complete PDF version that you can go download and assign to your kids however you so choose. We've also built these in so that you could assign them via the app if you wish. They come with a lesson and a video for each lesson. This is our registered dietitian, Rebecca, who is on staff here, who talks about the topic of the day. And this covers quite a bit. We also have questions at the end of each chapter that you can just kind of copy and paste and assign, have kids answer maybe live on Zoom. Maybe you just foster the conversation after watching the video together and kids reading the lesson on their own. We have 6 sessions, each with multiple lessons within, except for the first. And you can kind of, again, use this kind of like that puzzle piece, assigning how and when you see fit. Great information, just very factual. This is what this means. We're not pushing any agendas on anybody. It's simply, how does nutrition work? What is the science behind nutrition, so that everybody has a good understanding of what it goes into the science of eating.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of nutrition info out there. I think Rebecca helped us do a great job vetting this for the middle school and high school audience.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, I think I'll just kind of bring you to this exercise tab. This is growing and will be soon called our just resources tab, or resource vault, whatever we land on here, because this has grown from simple demo videos to a whole lot of content. So if you come here, what you'll notice is we have something like, I think it's like 750 or 1,000 videos that might seem overwhelming. But what I would bring your attention to is that we've begun to categorize these. So if you're like, hey, I'm just curious about some at-home content, I want to look for something for kids training at home or whatever, we have that broken out. You're looking for, fitness anywhere, full workout. You're looking for, how to do cardio at home, how to, what fitness challenges you might prescribe. Or you're saying, hey, I forget where I find those full Fit 101 lessons. Boom, Fit 101 lesson. Ooh, scrolled like crazy. And go to the bottom, and Intro to Fitness lessons 1 through 15 are here with a complete, and I'll mention, written, very long and in-depth lesson plan. So this is for you. We'll talk about the exact execution as, basically recommended by us. Again, you don't have to. You can use this as a jumping off point. Might be just for you to, review before going into any given lesson. Totally up to you. But I just want to let you know this is all here, as is all the other stuff that we normally do, kind of in the gym on a regular basis when school is normal. So just wanted to bring your attention to that as well. But that more or less brings me to the end of just my high level overview. Happy to answer specific questions about lessons, programs, whatever the case may be. I don't care if it's the minutia or the high level, happy to answer. I know people have busy schedules. Feel free to take off whenever, but I'm happy to, kind of be a question and answer resource right now.
Yeah, I'll keep my eyes on the Q&A. While we're waiting for any questions to flow in, I'll just mention again, like, the resources here at your disposal. This exercise vault that Sam has taken us to is a great one to explore. So I talked to some folks last night who, for whatever reason, they were just going to use the videos in their virtual classrooms and play them. So it actually made more sense for them to use these full videos that Sam has up on the screen, rather than clicking through the kind of spliced up version within the program. It just made for a more seamless class for them, and that's totally fine. So just different ways to use our content and our videos. We try to provide it to you in multiple ways so that you can use it in whatever way makes the most sense for logistically what you're working with. Let's see. Can teachers see? So someone asked, can teachers see how long it took for a student to complete a workout? So the answer is yes. And actually that kind of ties into the point I just made. So whether the decision to like, do you want to assign the programs digitally through platform or just come to this exercise vault and pull up the video and play it for your virtual class? If it is important to you to be able to log in and view activity reports through platform, the important piece there is you will want to assign them. In order for students to log a workout, they do have to be assigned digitally through platform as it was built for. If that piece is not important to you, then you can absolutely use, again, like the full videos in this vault and just pull them up on your screen and play them. But to answer that gentleman's question, I'm happy to share a link with you in the chat on how to view their activity. There's a few ways to view it. We probably won't go into that because that actually was an entire webinar that I'm happy to share with you as well. But yes, you have access to their timestamp, so how long that session took them, how many exercises they got through, and any test results that were recorded. So the finisher result, if you're following 101 or Finish Anywhere, they have the opportunity to plug in their finisher score. That's another piece that you have access to. If the student does. So someone asked, if a student does exercises that we as the teacher did not assign, can the teacher see that a student went above and beyond what was asked? The answer there, it would be no, technically. So like if the student were to venture over to this exercise vault, which they do have access to, they could absolutely search, use our tags and pull up a core workout or something like that and do more. In order for you to see what has been done, it has to be logged. And so in order for a workout to be logged, it does have to be assigned. So some teachers I've worked with like to assign extra like optional work. So that's absolutely an idea. One scenario I think I came across yesterday, the teacher had assigned Fit 101. That was her lesson plan for all of her PE classes. But then for the kids that wanted to really, our go-getters wanted to do more, she sort of made their own group for those kids who wanted extra credit, let's call it, and gave them access to Fitness Anywhere. So after they got done with their lesson, which is what was required of them and her curriculum that everyone's following, they would go and access a Fitness Anywhere workout and get that done and record it, and she could see that. So that would be the best way to do that if you want to be able to view their log history and prove that they did that. And then someone asked about the recording. We are recording this and I will share it with everyone that registered, even if you didn't attend. All right, so I got a couple questions too, asking about like, cause we mentioned a few times here and there of how to like piece our workouts together. The easiest way to do that is to assign multiple programs. And again, I don't think we have time to get into actually demonstrating that for you here. But if you assign multiple programs, your kids will just see multiple options available to them. So let's say you assign 101 and mobility. You just does require a level of communication from you guys as to what is expected out of them. So maybe you're expecting them to do three lessons out of 101 per week and 2 mobility sessions, let's say. They have both available to them, so they should know which days they're going to click into and access which program. I will mention there are customizing capabilities in platform. So for those folks that are looking to put in a little more upfront effort, that is an option. Again, not something we have time to dive into on this call, but I do have folks that, yeah, so Sam is showing us how you might copy a program. When you copy a program, you then have access to edit it. So if you wanted to like copy 2 of our programs and then mesh them together, that functionality is there. It's just gonna require a little more upfront effort on your part. We have several resources available to show you how to use our workout builder tool if that is a path you're looking to go down. All right. I think, Sam, do you want to hang out for another 2 minutes or so? See if we get any more questions?
Yep, happy to. But thank you everybody for joining us, and let us know if you do have any questions in the future. But yeah, I'll hang out for a few minutes, and if anybody has second questions, happy to dive in.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. Again, I'm going to share some resources in a follow-up email, one of them being our program guide. So if you are interested in checking out our other programs that maybe were available for non-remote purposes, that's where the best place to start. So I'll send you kind of 2 links. One is all of our programs in a program guide, and then what we've created as a distance learning menu. So kind of pulling out the options there that we talked about today, all in one place. All right, we have a question asking if we have TRX workouts in our program.
Good question. We don't have TRX specific circuits or workouts already built out. For the most part, TRX has been used for our upper body pulling, most notably as we build up to vertical upper body pulling. We start with inverted rows. TRXs are super prevalent in a lot of the schools that we work with when they're in session. So we use those in our kind of curriculum, but we don't have like specific circuits built out. We are always creating new stuff though, so that's certainly something that we can get into in the future.
Awesome. Sam, I think we might have covered it. Hopefully everyone left today with a better understanding of their options, why we built them, who we built them for, and how best to execute or implement them into your classroom, whatever style or environment that may be. That was really the goal today. Oh, we did one last minute question, which I think is an easy one. What is your suggestion for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students? Half are online, half they're seeing in person. So, I mean, we'll go 101.
Yeah, what 101 is never fail. If you're doing the half online and the half on their own, you know, really taking the time to be instructor led when you're online together, so that they know what's expected of them.
Yep.
If possible, you could do the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 sessions absolutely together, and then they have a very good idea of what's expected of them. The videos will look the same, the flow is the same. Now they're just not with you on the call. But Fit 101 is absolutely applicable to you know, the middle school age students. That's a great time to start them, frankly. I wish I'd had a better movement education back then. So yeah, that's a definite go-to.
Yep. Yeah, and the 101, just to reiterate, we do a really good job. We reshot those videos over the summer to be more instructor-led in them. So if you're not in the room with them that day, they're doing a couple of the lessons at home per week, we've got you covered. Sam, you'll see myself, you'll see a couple of other instructors rotate through, but we are really, like, it's seamless. We're telling them, all right, stop here, get in your 5 reps. We'll see you back here in a minute. So we are guiding them through everything, including warm-ups, movement review, and finisher. Awesome. All right, I think we can end it here. I'll stop the recording and get that passed around with some helpful resources, but everyone also has access to a help tab through their platform login. That's how you can get in touch with me or my support team. We're happy to respond to your individual questions. So if we didn't get some of your questions answered, feel free to reach out. We're happy to connect. Thanks for joining me, Sam. This was great.
Thank you.
All right. Adios.
Bye, everyone.